Turkish rule in India. The beginning of the Turkish rule was an extremely significant event. As we have read in the previous chapter, Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the Second Battle of Terrain in 1192 CE. After his victory, Ghori left India for his home in Ghazni. However, he was soon killed by a band of Khokhar rebels. His trusted slave Qutbuddin Aibak laid the foundation of the slave dynasty and became the first Sultan of Delhi in 1206 CE. This dynasty is also referred to as the Mamluk dynasty. Mamluk is an Arabic word for slave. The Mamluk dynasty 1206 to 1290 CE. Qutbuddin Aibak 1206 to 10 CE. Qutbuddin Aibak was the founder and first ruler of what came to be known as the Delhi Sultanate. Under him, the modern-day Afghanistan and a large part of the northern Indian subcontinent formed the Delhi Sultanate. He initially ruled from Lahore, but he shifted his capital to Delhi later. Aibak was nicknamed Lakh Bakhsh, or the giver of lakhs, due to his generosity. The Quwwatul Islam Mosque in Delhi and the Adhai Din Ka Jhopra in Ajmer were built during his reign. He also initiated the construction of the Qutub Minar but was unable to complete it. He died in an accident in 1210 CE while playing Chaugan, a kind of polo, on horseback. Iltutmish 1210 to 36 CE. Iltutmish, a trusted slave and son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak, is regarded by historians as the real architect of Turkish rule in North India. He ascended the throne in 1210 CE despite great opposition from the Turkish nobility and external revolts. With a view to winning the support of the nobles, he granted them land and focused his attention on strengthening his empire. He conquered Ranthambore, Bayana, Mandor and Jalore while crushing the revolts in Bengal and Bihar and annexing them in his empire. He also strengthened the northwestern frontier to safeguard it against Mongol invasions. To make his administration efficient, Iltutmish organized the Turkish nobility into a select group of 40 nobles called Chalisa or Chehelgani. Razia Sultan 1236 to 39 CE. Razia Sultan, the daughter of Iltutmish, was the only Muslim woman ruler of Delhi. Referring to her, Minhajus Siraj, chronicler of the period, says she was a great monarch, wise and dispenser of justice and protector of her subjects, but born of the wrong gender. So, in the estimation of men, all her virtues were worthless. Opposing the gender bias and cultural orthodoxy of her age, she wore male attire and appeared in public without any veil. She established law and order throughout the empire. Her rule triggered a power struggle between the Sultan and the Chehelgani. The nobility opposed her rule and also disapproved of her high position she granted to her Ethiopian slave Yakut. Eventually, they revolted against her. She was killed as part of a conspiracy by the nobles while she was on her way to reclaim her empire. Nasiruddin Mahmud 1246 to 66 CE and Ghiyasuddin Balban 1266 to 87 CE. Razia was succeeded by her brother Nasiruddin Mahmud. He died in 1266 and was succeeded by Ghiyasuddin Balban, his prime minister and a former member of the Chehelgani. After ascending the throne, Balban faced opposition from the Turkish chiefs who wanted someone of their choice to occupy the throne. With the view of suppressing them, he sought to centralize all power and authority in his own hands. His policy is called the policy of blood and iron. Adopting this policy, he laid the foundation of a centralized government and asserted the need for noble origin and prestige of the monarchy. Balban is also credited with having established an efficient spy system to keep himself informed and to ensure the loyalty of the people towards the throne. The Ganga Yamuna Doab was cleared of all robbers. Similarly, the Mewatis, who often plundered Delhi, was suppressed ruthlessly. Balban also started the Persian customs of Sijda and Pabos, intended to show loyalty towards the Sultan. He took important measures to ensure impartiality in the administration of justice. During his reign, the powerful group of the Chehalgani nobles was completely broken. In all, Balban strengthened the Delhi Sultanate, in particular its form of government and institutions, thereby paving the way for its expansion. The Khalji dynasty, 1290 to 1320 CE. Ghiyasuddin Balban died in 1287 CE. His successors were too weak and incompetent to carry forward his legacy. In 1290 CE, a noble named Jalaluddin Khalji killed Balban's grandson, Kakubad, and established the Khalji dynasty. The end of Turkish rule by Jalaluddin Khalji, a man of non-Turkish origin, is referred to as the Khalji Revolution. Jalaluddin Khalji, 1290 to 96 CE. Jalaluddin Khalji suppressed the revolts of Balban's successors and overcame the external threat of the Mongols. His brief rule was based on the participation of people in the process of governance and tolerance towards different religious communities. Alauddin Khalji, 1296 to 1316 CE. Jalaluddin Khalji was killed and succeeded by his nephew and son-in-law, Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin was ambitious. He established a vast empire in India by conquering Gujarat, Malwa, and parts of Rajasthan. He had great administrative skills and military genius. His first military campaign against Gujarat enabled him to have an access to its ports and overseas trade. He also undertook military campaigns to conquer Ranthambore, Chittor, Malwa, and Jalore in Rajasthan. He sent his trusted commander Malik Kafur to acquire control of the Deccan and thus became the first Delhi Sultan to cross the Vindhya region. The fabulous wealth that his Deccan campaign earned him drew the Sultan to the south. Malik Kafur was entrusted the charge of all southern campaigns. By 1313 CE, the Yadavas of Devagiri, the Kakatiyas of Warangal, the Hosalas of Dwarasamudra, and the Pandyas of Madurai accepted the overlordship of Alauddin. In Delhi, he built the famous Alai Darwaza in the Qutub Minar complex to commemorate his Deccan conquests. Moroccan traveller Ibn Battuta, who visited the Indian subcontinent around this time, says that Alauddin ruled almost the entire country for a brief period of time, with Malik Kafur as his vice-regent deputy. The Tughlaq dynasty, a case study. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, 1320 to 25 CE. Alauddin Khalji died in 1316 CE. His death was followed by a brief period of political unrest. In 1320, the last Khalji ruler Khusro Khan was killed by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. An able statesman and administrator, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq laid the foundation of a new dynasty called the Tughlaq dynasty. He believed that the state should be based on the support of the people. He carried out many works of public utility and built the famous Tughlaqabad fort in Delhi. He died in 1324 CE. He was succeeded by his son Jona Khan, who assumed the name Muhammad bin Tughlaq after becoming the Sultan. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, 1325 to 51 CE. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was a very learned man. He was well versed in Sanskrit, Arabic, and Persian. He also had a good command over religion, philosophy, science, and literature. He tried to resolve disputes through secular measures. He undertook numerous experimental projects. Despite being innovative, these projects failed since they lacked prudence. Muhammad bin Tughlaq's empire included the southern states, present-day Odisha, Bengal, and the Deccan. Shortly after his accession to the throne, he decided to transfer the capital from Delhi to Devagiri, renamed Daulatabad, in the Deccan. Due to the central location of Devagiri, the Sultan thought it would enable him to exercise control throughout the country and protect the Sultanate against continuous Mongol attacks. Historians think that he ordered not only the transfer of his court and officials but the entire population. Extensive arrangements were made for the long journey that covered a distance of around 1,500 kilometers. Temporary shelters were set up along the way and free food and drinks were supplied. Nevertheless, many people did not survive the long and arduous journey, and the operation turned out to be a total failure, as his ministers, courtiers and soldiers were not keen to stay at the new location. Muhammad bin Tughlaq ordered their return to Delhi. Another daring experiment undertaken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the issuing of bronze and copper token currency. Firoz Shah Tughlaq, 1351 to 88 CE. Muhammad bin Tughlaq died in 1351 and was succeeded by his cousin Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He aimed to consolidate his empire and took a number of measures to reform the administration. He undertook many welfare measures such as banning the practice of inhuman punishments, establishment of hospitals for the poor, etc. Firoz founded the city of Firozabad. People were happy during his reign. When he died in 1388, a series of rebellions broke out, which hastened the end of the Tughlaq rule. The Sayyid dynasty, 1414 to 1451 CE. When Timur left Delhi, he appointed Khizr Khan as his viceroy. Khizr Khan went on to establish the Sayyid dynasty and took over as the Sultan of Delhi in 1414. He was succeeded by his son Mubarak Shah in 1421. Yahya bin Ahmad, Sirhind's book, Tariq-e-Mubarak Shahi, gives a detailed account of Mubarak Shah's reign. Mubarak Shah was succeeded by his nephew Muhammad Shah. He was succeeded by his son and the last ruler of the dynasty, Alauddin Alam Shah. The Lodi dynasty, 1451 to 1526 CE, and decline of the Sultanate. In 1451, Alauddin Alam Shah abdicated the throne. This gave Balor Lodi, the governor of Sirhind, Punjab, the opportunity to become the new Sultan of Delhi. The new dynasty that he founded came to be known as the Lodi dynasty. It was the first Afghan dynasty that comes to power during the Sultanate period. Balor died in 1489 and was succeeded by his son Sikandar Lodi. He founded the city of Agra in 1503 CE. He was succeeded by his son Ibrahim Lodi in 1517 CE. In the First Battle of Panipat, fought in 1526 CE, Ibrahim Lodi was defeated by Babur. It dealt the final fatal blow to the Delhi Sultanate. We will read about this in detail in the next chapter. Administration in the Sultanate. The Sultan. The Sultan was at the center of the Sultanate administration. He protected the empire against external attacks and was responsible for maintaining law and order. He acted as the commander-in-chief of the army and the chief justice of the Sultanate, nobles and officials. The Sultan's court consisted of officials who were responsible for effective functioning of the administrative machinery. The Wazir and his deputies looked after the issues relating to income, expenditure, collection of revenue, and control of the revenue. The Arizi Mamulik and his deputies looked after the recruitment of soldiers, their training and equipment. The Wakilidar was responsible for looking after the affairs relating to the household of the Sultan, the palace guards, and the personal assistants. The Amiri Hajib was the master of ceremonies at the court, while the chief Qazi headed the justice department. The nobles occupied civilian and military positions in the Sultanate. They assisted the Sultan in the discharge of his responsibilities as the ruler of the empire. In terms of rank, the Khans occupied the top position, followed by the Maliks and the Amirs. The nobles got their salaries from the revenue assigned to them. As per the Ikta system, the land resources of the Sultanate were divided among the nobles in lieu of cash for their services. Iqtadars collected taxes from the farmers and used them to maintain the army. Slaves had a huge presence in the royal household. They served as personal assistants as well as administrative officials. With a view to meeting the requirements of the royal palace, karkhanas or workshops under maliks were set up. In these karkhanas, various items such as cloth, paintings and other articles were produced. Occasionally, military goods were also produced in these workshops. Army. The army was a significant part of the Sultanate because it aided the Sultan to stay in power, expand and defend his empire. The army comprised of the infantry or foot soldiers, cavalry or horse soldiers, archers and elephants. Horses of fine quality received great attention and therefore they were imported from Arabia. Alauddin Khalji maintained a detailed description of each soldier known as Chehra. Each horse was branded in his army known as Dag. During his reign, land revenue was collected in cash. Soldiers were also paid in cash. Division of the Sultanate. The Delhi Sultanate was divided into provinces known as Subas, which were further divided into Sheikhs. Parganas were the subdivisions of the Sheikhs, which comprised several villages. The province was headed by a governor or mukti, while the Shikdar was the head of a sheikh. The Amil was the head of the Pargana. The landowners, known as Khut and Mukaddams, were the most important officials in the village. The village accountant or patwari maintained records of land, crops and taxes to be paid. Economic and social life. Economy. The Sultan relied heavily on regular income from the land in order to pay the officials, maintain the army and construct buildings. Different types of taxes such as kharaj or land tax, house tax, etc. were levied to extract revenue. Alauddin Khalji is known for the unique market reform policy he introduced during his reign. The prices of essential commodities like food grains, sugar, cooking oil, cloth, horses, cattle and slaves were fixed by him along with the introduction of standardized weights and measures. As a result of commodity price regulation, the Sultan earned the support of the people. The market was under the control of an officer known as Shahna, who maintained a register of merchants and controlled the shopkeepers and prices. The revenue payable depended on the measurement of the land and its yield. The Khuds and Mukaddams also had to pay taxes. Muhammad bin Tughlaq introduced new cesses or local taxes. He continued to demand one half of the produce as tax from the peasants. However, lack of rainfall and famine led to the farmers' inability to pay taxes, which resulted in rebellions against the Sultan. His successor Firoz Shah Tughlaq introduced significant modifications in the tax structure. Society. All the administrative posts in the Sultanate were reserved for the nobles, who constituted the ruling class in society. The distinctions of the caste system permitted to all religions. Slaves were bought and sold in huge numbers in the market. At times, they rose up to high posts in the administrative structure and army. The peasants lived in conditions of abject poverty. They were subjected to oppression from revenue officials and their demands for heavy taxes.